In 1977, Tony Kiritsis, a former real estate developer, puts a dead man switch on himself and the mortgage banker who did him wrong, demanding $5 million and a personal apology. That's the latest film from Gus Van Sant called The Dead Man's Wire, that is, yes, based on some true events from the late 70s. It stars Bill Skarsgård, Dacre, Montgomery, Colman, Domingo, and Al Pacino. And this one's just so much fun. It was one of the films at the Venice Film Festival that, like, you know, rejuvenated us, gave us a bit of energy. They were like, you know, it's a pretty serious movie and what's happening about like someone being kidnapped, but the way it is portrayed is continuously incredibly funny.
Like you said, sometimes at these festivals, because we have these dramatic, depressing as hell movies, you sort of need a movie that keeps giving you fuel to last the festival, and Dead Man's Wire was definitely one. I mean, everyone on our jury grid saw this one, so I think everybody came out re-energized for the rest of the film festival. Very stacked cast as well. Al Pacino sort of plays this older, you know, the hostage's father, and it's very much like an old father that's like, I don't care what really happens with him, you can't touch me, even with my son. And that's where some of the comedic elements obviously rise when Bill Skarsgård calls him because he wants an apology from him directly. You also have Colman Domingo, who is playing a very suave DJ named Fred Temple. Just how cool is that name? Especially when Colman Domingo says it in his recordings, because he's a radio DJ. And you have Bill Skarsgård, who is absolutely unhinged, and as we know from other movies such as It, he can play a very unhinged person. He even does at some points in the movie the Pennywise looking at different things with his eyes thing, and it's like so unsettling. And then you have Dacre Montgomery, who is a 30-year-old person but is playing a 56-year-old. That doesn't really get translated well into the movie, I thought, because even though you're seeing the real footage at the end, which really makes you wonder, because during the movie you're wondering like how hard did they dramatize this thing, you know, how much, you know, powder did they add to the story. But it's very much the actual thing, as you see in footage that is played at the very end of it, and it's brought in this very old school filmmaking way by Gus Van Sant, who is mixing sometimes media with the actual scenes. And perhaps the only thing that I would have liked more is some more conversation between Dacre Montgomery and Bill Skarsgård, because they are sometimes doing a lot of time jumps, and, you know, these guys are supposed to be in there, you know, like entire days with each other. So we don't really get as much conversation between the two of them as I would have liked, which is probably because we don't actually know what conversations they have had with each other. Like, that probably hasn't been, you know, released.
Yeah, it's also their dynamic becomes pretty quickly something of like they understand the situation they're in. So it's not like you could have very, very chippy back and forth, similar to like in Begonia, you know, where you're holding someone hostage. And there, like, the dynamic is way more at odds with each other, because like consistently the guy is described by like the cops and everyone around it. He's like a decent, not the guy he's taking like as hostage, but Bill Skarsgård's Tony is described as like an upstanding, good person. And the way that this is being portrayed is like, oh wait, who's the actual bad guy in the larger picture? It's like, no, you still got someone who's doing a super crazy thing, but it's also looking at it through the lens of like not belittling him as a like biggest idiot, but lunatic. Also he's like fumbling, and a lot of it is like conversational, like situational humor, like the way that the media plays into it and how they coverage. There's also Myha'la, who basically comes in and takes over sort of reporting on the story, which I thought like was a bit something that, I don't know, didn't need that sort of inclusion. That was an offshoot story, offshoot like side plot that wasn't really that important overall. But a lot of like the comedy comes out of letting a scene maybe play a bit longer and start a bit earlier, and there's so much comedy in that where you're just watching it and it's just like, it's kind of ridiculous, and there's something true to the core of it as well. Like Gus Van Sant also talked about in his director statement that they began making the film in November 2024, and in a short time as the world changed around us, we noticed unsettling parallels between our story and unfolding global events. This made the project feel both timely and uncomfortable. I hope the film doesn't cause too much distress, though I recognize that we are living in deeply troubling times. I felt that as well. I was like, I didn't think this movie had the intention of having like a big statement behind it. It felt like a pretty silly, like, this is a story, but also
movie,
fuck the mortgage company in a way, right? We fuck these big institutions, but then it like also is so timely in a way that like all of this pent up frustration is coming to a boiling point as we see the larger repercussions of the decisions that were made in the 60s and 70s that are just like, you know, worsened by current leadership. And like, then I was like, okay, cool, I guess we can both have fun with this and still have something to say. I was like, that is really impressive. Gus Van Sant nailed that. I think it's like, I also before the festival rewatched Good Will Hunting for the first time in a few years, and I was like struck by how many incredible lines are in that movie, how much heart that movie has. This is obviously very different. He still has it. He's still got it. Like, that energy is still there. I was really impressed by the filmmaking.
I mean, his last movie was in 2018, if I recall correctly, which was Don't Worry, We Won't Get Far on Foot. 2018, so it has been a while.
Yeah.
But I'm sort of glad he's back. He didn't do everything perfectly for me. Like, sometimes during the movie, I was wondering, like, what would David Lowery have done with this story? Because it at times feels very The Old Man and the Gun-esque, especially in aesthetic. And sometimes I've seen a better version of this movie with Johnny Toe's Breaking News, because that's also very much a hostage and perpetrator versus the media and the police type of movie, where they're sort of talking about the propaganda and side of things. But overall, it's still very successful in what it tries to do, and its parallel with the real world are quite obvious. I mean, you haven't really mentioned it, which is Luigi Mangione, because you haven't mentioned it. You want to mention it or not?
No, that's fine. Yeah, you can mention him. Yeah.
No, you can mention him, because you were thinking it. Yeah. I really wasn't.
Well, I actually haven't thought about it since then. I was like, I was surprised that you brought him up now.
Because the director named him specifically also at the press conference. So that's why.
He did. Yeah, it's I don't know. That's sort of the pent up frustration that, like, here it's in the same vein of like, he wants to get something. Well, I don't know what Luigi wanted, but here he wants something specific. He wants an apology. He wants to be paid back, because we haven't even said yet what he's so mad about. But essentially, he has like bought land, and he has to pay back a loan, and he feels like they are holding out on like him actually doing something with the land, that they are like behind that and that.
I believe he was building a mall on that specific land.
Yeah, and he had like everything in order, and then he accuses them
like ready to go,
and then it was stopped, and he still had to pay back the loans that he still has to
and
pay
even
out.
Though they weren't like written agreements yet, they were verbal agreements, so that's why he's also extra frustrated.
It's a lot of that, like, hey, the little man gets fucked over by the institution. That shouldn't be the case. This is him acting out. Do people resonate with him on a larger scale? And what actually ends up happening to this person who does something like this? How is he going to get punished for something that we clearly see as illegal and wrong, and under the other ways of that other wrongdoing that someone can do under the law, institutionalized as well. So people, like, you know, were really cheerworthy when, again, this is based on something real. If you don't want to know, then I guess skip out. But like,
and again, the real footage at the end is absolutely insane as well.
Yeah, but the mortgage company kind of default, like, going out of business, and like people were cheering for that to no end. The press conference, like, I was cheering as well. I was like, fuck them. There's a lot of like, it ends with like, the revolution will not be televised and all of that. So like, there's definitely like a bit of energy behind it, and we can see that reflected in a bunch of movies. Like No Other Choice felt similar in that way, where we can resonate with like some extremist mentalities that have the implication, sometimes literal violence alongside it. I mean, we don't have to mention recent events, but that's like that's not like that's not going anywhere, right? It's just causing more harm. And the question is like, if someone gets so harmed in a way, that's the only way out, even if in no other choice. For example, it's just him dropping down to middle class and he can't accept it.
Desperate,
he's so desperate he can't be rich anymore. It's like, well, that's the value system that he's placed on himself and the world and his family. And yeah, there's a lot of that. There's also a miniseries that's currently in the works with John Hamm. There was a podcast they did in 2022 about this, and apparently by MGM Plus they greenlit it earlier this year in April. So there's another adaptation of this maybe coming. I don't know if it's actually being done, but
so that probably will be a Prime series.
Yes,
as it's MGM.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah. And like you said, like the ending clips of actually showing what was publicly, sent out, and them just being like kind of nervous, cut the feed early because they didn't know what he was actually going to do, and like that in this movie, and how it's so like it's so beautifully awkward as well. Like a lot of it is just a bunch of men standing in front of a camera, just one guy with a shotgun. It's like, it's so ridiculous. There's also a guy who won the Pulitzer Prize for
sure.
wants water. There's one guy who won the Pulitzer Prize for a photo that he took that is really iconic with you've probably seen it. But yeah, this one gets a whole lot of recommendation from me. I gave this an 8 out of 10. Yeah, liked it a lot.
I gave it a 7 out of 10, but I called it the hardest 7 out of 10 for me at the film festival. It's just made it into my top 20 of the film festival. It's really entertaining, but actually, as we know, we discussed more and more, this movie also had a lot to say. I hope it does well, because if I recall correctly, this movie had like a shit ton of executive producers and like producers in the beginning of this movie as well, like a whole bunch of names on the screen. So I don't really know the financials of this movie, but I do hope it's one that does well, either in its streaming deal negotiations or at the actual box office, if it gets a wide release at all. Hopefully.
I just checked this on Letterboxd. There's so many executive producers on it. I don't know what's up with that. Exactly. I don't know why.
I remember that screen specifically because like bam, full on names.
It's also
like, whoa,
no one like that stands out that like there's no celebrity that at least I'm noticing here. So
like this is very much, I feel like a Gus Van Sant that went around and asked in a lot of favors.
I mean, it still doesn't have a poster on Letterboxd. It's still just like a still from the movie. So hopefully this does get a bit of a wider release. It's playing at the Zurich Film Festival as well. But that's with most of the other competition. This might be the one that's not playing, and I'm saying it's playing at the Zurich Film Festival. On our jury grid, it ended up getting a 3.71, and like you said, everyone ended up catching this, so that is very positive that no one is like dragging it down for really not liking it. So you got a solid film here.